Hello, everyone. Welcome to Achieving Success with Olivia Akin. I am your host, Olivia Akin. Each week, we will discuss the roadmap of achieving your personal and professional success. We give you real-life stories on growing personally and professionally to achieve your life and career goals with the help of some top-notch guests. Today, we are speaking with Trent Clark. Trent is the founder and CEO of Leadershipity. Despite being discouraged with the words "you're not enough" during his childhood, Trent persevered and spent over 12 years in professional baseball, coaching top athletes and earning 3 World Series rings. Today, he shares his inspiring story as a speaker, entrepreneur, and mentor, guiding individuals and teams towards unlocking their full potential. Leveraging insights gained from working under coaching icons like Sparky Anderson and Tom Izzo, Trent provides expertise in leadership, mentoring, personal development, along with his various roles. Trent also imparts wisdom and shares expertise through his podcast, Winners Find a Way. You can find Trent on LinkedIn by searching Trent Clark or emailing him at trent@leadershipity.com. Hello, Trent. It's fantastic having you on the show today.
Thank you, Olivia. I am excited to join you. You've been a guest on my podcast talking about Winners Find a Way and talking through your story of, when sports changed for you. So it was such a blessing to have you on. So I'm thrilled to join the Achieving Success audience. This is going to be fun.
I'm so excited because you and I have built this friendship over time, and I got the amazing experience of being a guest on your podcast, and I've been looking forward for the right moment to have you on because you have such experiences, knowledge, and things that have really changed and shaped who you are today that I'm like, we need the perfect time, and now is it. So to start off the show, can you tell me what success means and looks like to Trent Clark?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Like, what success means to me? And I think it's really about authenticity and what I really want from that. I think productivity, leadershipity, we talk a lot about those iddies, right? And if I don't do that, with integrity and humility, that's going to probably derail me on what I really want to go. I'm still a measurement guy, though, right, Olivia? I'm still a get the results. You're responsible for your results. So I certainly got to own that I'm responsible for my results. And so I love to work with companies who grab onto that and get that, and organizations that are really, hey, how does each person achieve the result they're going for? Because when we have teams that are all getting it right in their roles, man, like watch out. Like you got an organization that's really going to catch fire.
And I think that's so important too, is still, no matter what you're driving towards, is having those checkpoints and having those things that you can actually measure by so that you can do a self check, a group check, right? Or that organizational check. And I really want to dive into some of that and your journey. And you have talked a lot in the past, and I even mentioned it in your bio about hearing negativity growing up. You're not enough. Probably a lot of other words that just really hindered your potential or this idea that you could accomplish anything because people were saying other things to you. How, hearing that day in and day out, what was it like? And how did you shape your mindset and approach as a child? And how that affected you as an adult? Because, like I also said in the intro, you have 3 World Series championship rings. You're wearing them now. So, like, you obviously were able to do it. You were able to accomplish those things you continuously aspire to do.
Yeah, I think this starts with, Olivia, that I had great parents, right? And they were always telling us, hey, we could achieve whatever we wanted to achieve, but you got to do the work. And I think at that junior high level, I'd kind of set some goals in place and set some things in motion. And then I was really discouraged to find out that the adults that I was telling people about my goals, they're like going, oh, you're not big enough, you're not fast enough, you're not strong enough. And then I started internalizing that to I'm not enough. And when it really changed for me was after my freshman year. This was about 3 years later of just walking down this road. And I realized that there's a lot of naysayers, and I'm trying to navigate that water. And I got selected to go to this showcase camp when I was a kid. Like, I'm 54, right? So when I was a kid, there wasn't like showcases every weekend. You were invited, you earned that spot, you didn't pay for that spot, right? And so when I got to go and be amongst the best for 8 counties, it was really important for me to show out and be recognized as one of the best in my area. But more importantly was when I got the invitation, they said that the MVP of the week would get the chance to sit down with the former major leaguer, and that's what I wanted to do, right? I wanted to play in the major leagues, and so it's opportunity meets preparation. And man, I said I put my head down, Olivia, and I got prepared, and I went in and had a fabulous week, and I was named the MVP and got a chance to sit down with this man who done what I wanted to do. And that was kind of his first question to me is, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to do what you did. I want to play in the major leagues." And he sat back and thought about that for a second. He said, "Well, I've watched you all week, Trent. I think you have what it takes." And I was like, "What?" Like, hey man, you're like, with all due respect, like, you're the only guy saying this. And this is one of these blind courage kid moments where you just go, everybody else is telling me no. And he was like, "Oh, that's interesting, Trent, because who are these people, that are telling you no?" And I said, "Well, my gym teacher, my ninth grade science teacher, my freshman coach, all these people that have decided that, I may not have what it takes to make it to the major leagues." And I don't think they were being, negative towards me. I think they were giving me the, "Hey, you better have a plan B," because a very small percentage ever actually make it. So I think their intention was good, but my self-talk became bad. And so he told me one of the best pieces of advice at that moment. He said, "Trent, I got to ask you, man, if any of these people played in the major leagues?" And I'm like, "No, like my science teacher, my mom, nobody." Like, none of these people have played in the major leagues. And he's like, "I'm going to give you a piece of advice. I would be very cautious of taking advice from someone who hasn't done what you're looking to do, because there are people out there that you can find and seek, and they will tell you how they did it. And those are the people you should be listening to." And I was like, "Yes, sir." And this now serves me starting 13 companies, helping three different organizations to the World Series, all these things that has shaped me from ever. And I love the commercial. I love the Holiday Inn Express commercials where they're, "Hey, do you know how to defend yourself against a bear?" "No, but I did stay at Holiday Inn Express last night." Like, it's funny because I would never listen to those people. I qualify people so quickly, like, "Hey, have you done what I'm looking to do?" And they're like, "Oh no." And I'm like, "I don't know why we're talking." In my mind, I'm like, I'm done with this conversation and probably not going to listen to your advice. And that's not to say that I'm not, friendly about it, but I caution it very quickly about who I'm taking advices from. And likewise, people should be doing the same thing with me. I give a lot of content and a lot of information for people out there. And I want them to know, like, "Hey, I'm speaking from experience. I'm not speaking from something I read or something I'm hoping that I could figure out. I've had to go and do those things, so I know what it takes."
And I think that's so important to have a degree of of actually understanding what it takes, right? There's so many individuals out there that do try to tell you how to do something, and they have no expertise, have never tried doing that thing themselves. And now their ideas of how it should happen, right? Will take even starting a business, how you should run your business, how your business should be organized. And it's like, you haven't started your business. You aren't in my industry. Why am I listening to some of these things where I have a vision? It also plays into your idea and what you had brought up of like, you need to actually listen to the people who've walked in those footsteps, because their lessons learned along the way will help you, but also sometimes you have a vision that others just aren't seeing. And that's okay to acknowledge as well. And before we dive into the next question I have for you, I mean, I have a lot, right? But the next one I'd set up, you had brought up another interesting point that I want to get your perspective on. It's this idea within sports, within roles of buying your spot, right? You had mentioned it of now like you could pay to play kind of method.
Yeah.
What is your thought process on that and how do you perceive it?
Yeah, I I perceive it as a challenge in our environment because hey, I'm a big fan of the Marines. I'm a big fan of Belichick that it is earned, never given. And when people ask me about the rings, right? And I do this talk called The Weight of the Ring, and people hold it and they go, "Man, Trent, like how do you wear those things? So heavy." And the rings are earned. They're never given. No one just go, oh, Olivia, you're fabulous. You were a part of a team that went on to a national championship in hockey, right? And and man, it's earned. Like no one says, "Oh, you guys are really good," and it looks good on paper. So you know what? You win. We won't even show up. No, they're going to show up and try to stop you at every turn. And if you're not ready for that to execute on what you have to do, you have got to earn it. And I think I don't love the pay to play. I don't love the idea that you're going to get a position because you decided that, hey, I've got the money to be in position. Now, I think positioning is really important and how you prepare. We talked a little bit about, preparation meets opportunity. You earn those opportunities, but through the work and through the effort, you position yourself now to be successful in that opportunity. And I mean, one of the biggest challenges I see in organizations and business is that the opportunity comes and we're not prepared for it, right? And so it's like, oh man, this is the opportunity. We're gonna get on the Oprah Winfrey Book Club, and like, hey, are you ready for all the business that might bring when she decides like you're one of the top thinkers and your product is number one? Because that is going to crush your manufacturing, and if you are not positioned and ready to manage that, watch out. And I've seen many companies in hyper growth that get taken down by that.
And you brought up something, and I'll even say this because, as you said, I was part of a national winning hockey team, college hockey. I worked in professional sports, but I've never gotten a ring like you working in professional sports. But I have a championship ring, and I've worn it to special occasions like graduation. And everyone comes up to me too, because as a female, you have an option of getting a girl's ring, which is really small, or the men's ring, which is that big heavy duty ring.
Yeah.
And I chose the men's ring. So I wear that men's ring that honestly takes up like three of my fingers if you wear it, right?
Yeah.
And people are always like, that's so nice. And I'm like, do you understand the work that went into this pretty object? And sometimes I feel like that gets missed when you have this national title or everyone's looking at you as you're the pinnacle of what that goal they have in their mind is. Because it's like for me, and I know you've put in the grind, when I was in college working with this team and I was there day in, day out for practices. Every single game for the men's and women's, I worked. And sometimes that meant 4 hockey games a weekend, right? If they
Yeah.
were both home that weekend. And then I get in my car after a Saturday night if it was football season. My last 2 seasons working at the Quinnipiac hockey team, I also worked for the New York Giants. So when it was football season, Saturday night after a game at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, when I was done doing stats, was get in the car and drive for that 8 a.m., being at MetLife Stadium at 8 a.m., whatever it might be, to earn that spot. And the guys put in so much work, so much thought that I think sometimes that gets missed. And on your comment too of the pay to play, I totally align with you on that. I think it takes away some credibility, whether it is in sports now, because there's certain people that are getting their spot that realistically, and I hate to say it this way, have no business being in that spot because they're other people, because you could put the money there and they have the money, have now set them up for failure because they don't have the tools in their toolbox to actually perform at that level, while then also eliminating someone else who does have those tools. And hey, work on those things and you could get there. You're also seeing it right now. And I know I'm starting to go on a rant, but you and I are both podcast hosts. We're seeing it more and more within the podcast community as well. You want to get on a podcast, you have to pay to be a guest. And it's something that I love about your show, I love about mine, is like we don't do that. It's whoever has the knowledge, they should be the ones voices being heard, the ones who have the experiences, because I think that's what really shows. I don't care if you could give me all the money in the world to be a sponsor or be a guest, but at the end of the day, you've nothing that you could connect with others because you don't have that experience to back it up. So for you, having these 3 World Series championship rings, what was it like earning your first one and the mind process that went into as the season's going along? Once you're in playoff, getting closer and
Yeah.
closer, actually obtaining that. And then for your second and third one, did kind of change your perspective on things.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you a little correction on this. So I only have one world championship ring. I went to the World Series 3 times and we lost the first two, right? So I have what they call the first loser ring, which is the American League Championship ring. Like you won the pennant, but you didn't win the world title. So I spent 2 cycles when I was 25 and 27 years old, my first 2 World Series, in losing those final games. And when I was 27, we lost game 7 in extra innings, right? Like this is like, it's down to the fractional amount of detail. And you immediately start auditing everything you could have done differently to change the outcome of even just 2 innings. And as a strength and conditioning guy, I am definitely looking at fatigue, focus, everything that could have changed inside that. So when now 5 years later after that, 97, I'm back in 02, now with a different club with the Angels. I went to the first 2 with the Cleveland Indians, and we're positioned for it, and we feel like we're physically and mentally prepared, and we feel like we have the right culture. But it's a game of like so many chances, right? There's just games of just inches, and when it actually came to fruition, it was surreal, Olivia. Like I didn't really believe it. Like even after the last out, I was like, well, not really. Like you're celebrating and everyone's like, but it hasn't really sunk in, right? And so it's a unique feeling. I think that it's like anyone, right? And you hear it with like a bride. I think about a bride who's like, that day when I get married and I'm gonna marry the man of my dreams. I've been thinking about this since I was 10 years old, and now you're 24 or 25 years old or whatever, and it's coming to fruition, right? And it's like that day, how many brides have you heard? I still can't believe it. I still can't believe I'm a married person. I'm a married woman. Like, and how that looks like, we're trying to navigate in our minds that it's actually happened, right? Because there's been so much build up to that moment and so much preparation to have that. And there's mental rehearsals, there's physical rehearsal, there's just a lot that goes into it. And I think that it's one of the challenges that people who want to do great things, I think, really don't understand, is that when you are focused on what you really want to do in your life, all the other distractions go away. I love the Henry Ford quote, like, obstacles are those things you see when you take your eyes off your goals. Because I'm focused here, like I don't have time for those obstacles. In fact, I don't even see them anymore. And so when what's happening is I start seeing obstacles in my life, I got to think about, man, am I focused enough? Because I keep seeing these hurdles, and man, they're bringing me down. And what does that mean? And so it tends to mean that, hey, my focus is loosening, and I'm starting to let things creep in that probably shouldn't be there. And so that's a huge focus. I think the other thing for people that are really going for something, that I think they're really going to be surprised, and you and I have both learned this, that the playbook to success is very simple. It is not complex. There is nothing like, oh, pi times blah blah. Like these are not complicated algorithms. The challenge is most people think because it's simple, it's easy. And the challenge there is navigating like, oh, all it is follow Olivia's playbook, which is really simple. Like, yeah, follow the playbook really closely. And then they find out how hard it is to follow the playbook. Like it is a simple playbook, but it doesn't mean simple is easy. And I always kind of point to the Bible, right? Like we like, oh, hey, here's these 10 commandments. Oh, it's simple. Like, um, hey, who's following those all the I wanted to make a good choice and I didn't make a good choice. And now I'm not following. Like, so these simple little rules are suddenly not so easy to follow all the time. And I'm being charged with like, oh man, I'd like to do that, but that doesn't sound fun. I want to do this. And it's like, oh, but then I wouldn't really be following the playbook then, would I? And so we get easily, and we don't go running away from what's right. We slowly drift off that playbook. And it's just so easy to get away because you want complex. People think it should be harder than it really is. And the fact of the matter is it is hard, and you're going to choose your hard every day because the simplicity means I'm going to be really consistent. And the simplicity is I'm going to be really focused. And the simplistic is I'm going to listen to my coach and the feedback. I'm going to follow the guidelines that Olivia set out for me. Like all these things are happening, and it is not complex, but I'm telling you to execute, it's not easy.
And I think that goes into all aspects of our life too, is sometimes, as you said, we really look for the complexity. It cannot be this easy. But what ends up happening is because it's laid out in a step to step from that bird's eye view, it's like, oh, yeah, that's easy. But when you start putting the work, the ethics into it, as I say, the grind, right? Making sure you're doing it every single day and following
Yeah.
those steps every single day. Well, the day you're tired and don't want to go work out. Okay, well, that's your misstep, right? And now everything else is going to start to be off course because you misstepped instead of going, okay, I'm going to put the time in. Even though I don't want to do it today, I'm going to do it. And that really leads me into an additional question for you because you went from World Series, going at performing at this really high level, helping others perform at a high level as being a coach, and then went into coaching companies, speaking. You and I have both been on the TEDx stage. You've really done a lot of things since coaching professional baseball. Was there a moment in your professional coaching career that you had to coach an individual and be more than that strength, that coach right there, but kind of help them navigate a situation where you started to be like, hmm, there's more to this that I can provide outside of professional coaching. This might be something to do in my next career.
Yeah, I mean, I think like when I was in professional baseball, I was investing in businesses, and so I started up a company. One of my first companies was private training professional athletes, and then I pivoted to providing fitness facilities inside the homes of pro athletes. So showing them how when they put in $100,000 investment into their career, it's the off season. You stay at home, work out at home, now you have accessibility for your significant other, your children, whatever. You get this, and tax deductible. It's part of your job. Like this is your business now. And so I love that business, and that was something I had a big passion for setting up spaces, and that was cool. And so as I was investing in it, and then I bought into a franchise called 1-800 Got Junk, and I owned all of Phoenix in 1-800 Got Junk. And I was like the 10th franchisee, which I think there's now 250 or more now worldwide. And So it was early on, and we were figuring out like the process. We were figuring out the playbook of what would work in these locales, and realized that wow, what works in Toronto may not work in Phoenix, and what works in San Francisco doesn't work in Chicago, and all these things that were going on. But you were trying to get standards in place that really landed. And so meanwhile, I was coaching, and as an entrepreneur, I was realizing like, wow, I didn't love the business aspect of sports. I really liked the competition part of sports. I really liked the opportunity of never ending and continuous improvement, lifelong learning. And so I was double dipping in that. I was hyper learning in the sports world, and then I was hyper learning in the entrepreneurial world. And so, what great athletes really figure out is that they really are hyper learners. They learn very quickly. They appreciate feedback. And who else goes on and has a coach in their life, almost like a personal coach or multiple of them, until you're 30, 35 years old? Like everyone goes a professional career after high school. No one else has a coach. And now you're like, hey, the best in the world have a coach. Why wouldn't you have that? Because when you have a coach, you get very accustomed to feedback, and you make adjustments very quickly, and you learn how to adapt. And adaptability is a superpower, right? And so these athletes come in, and this is what my new book about is leading winning teams, is all those things that are developed as an athlete that you take on to whatever you're going to do after that, because there's so many skills learned inside the sports world that will serve you in leading and career and business and whatever you choose to do next. It's really significant. And as you and I talked about the TEDx, it's one of the biggest probably benefits of athletes is that pain exchange. They really choose the pain of discipline over the pain of regret. When there's opportunity, they will lean into the discipline of what it takes to secure that opportunity and earn that position, earn that next level. And so they are willing to take on that acute or short-term pain of discipline that says, hey, this is what I got to do every day. Because Olivia says, if I do this every day for the next 4 months, I will be named the first line forward on the hockey team come my junior year season. And that's what I'm going for. Because from there, I'm on a national championship team that has scouting that's going to give me an opportunity for the NHL. That's my next goal. But right now, this is what serves me today. And they're very focused and willing to lean into that short-term pain. And Olivia's former athletes, like you and I both know, after winning, no one ever went back and went, "Oh my gosh, Olivia, I can't believe we did hill running. That was so hard. Working out till we vomited." Like, yeah, like we pushed ourselves physically and mentally to our potential to garner a prize that no one else has achieved. And I've never ever heard anyone talk about the regret of the work it took to be a champion, to be a winner. But yet, the people who've never won, the people who have never earned, complain constantly about the difficulty of daily discipline and the challenge. So they don't choose it. And so it's just a price that you're going to pay. Like you either choose the pain now or you choose the pain later, because you and I both know that we all have pain. No one is immune to that. We're going to have it in this lifetime. So that pain of regret's chronic. It just stays with you like, oh, I could have won, but things didn't work out for me, and complaints and whining and it's a tough pain. So at the end of each of my chapter in the book, I have the exercise, and I'm like, okay, here's the pain exchange. Now, and the ask is, are you willing to do it and face this and go improve yourself and face the discipline that it would take to improve yourself? Or you could say, hey, I'll turn the page and just do on to the next chapter. And like, you can do that too, but I think you're going to regret it.
And I love the fact that your book has things to implement now and challenges to do. And it's something, whether it's your first time reading your book or you've read it and now it's on your shelf and you need to start really honing in certain things, you can grab and start doing those challenges over. And it's that discipline of really looking at things and going, okay, now's the time to really focus in on this. For you, how did you know now was the best time for you to sit down and really write that book on these tough discussions and things that really challenge people and release it today?
Yeah. I think, Olivia, it's like one of those things where people are deciding like when's the right time to have children. Like, I don't know if there's a right time. I had no idea how challenging it would be to write a book. I had it up here for a long time. Obviously, it's my daily work. Um, Fortunately, I had a good publisher in Wiley Business, and Wiley gave me an advance that helped navigate some of the losses that I knew I might take from my revenue and my companies because I need to give this focus. So I'm playing the long game, right? I decided to sacrifice some of the short-term gain in my business to have long-term gain and create value for others by cruising what I think is really a playbook. It's a book, but it's a playbook. Like, this is going to be something for someone to, hey, I want to lead, and I have played sports, and it doesn't matter that you didn't play at the professional level. Like, you got lessons right up through your high school teams, right up through anything that you've ever done. And the lessons, we say a team, but I think the lessons are just as big in the orchestra or in whatever organization and team effort and environment you were in that was group that creates value together. And that's what I love about the orchestra, right? Is everyone serves each other. Like, we have to play with precision. And it's not like, oh, you know what? I feel like coming in with my oboe right now. It's like, you were going to jack up this entire piece, Trent. Like, no, there is a structure and a stringent amount of practice that goes into that precision. And it's amazing. And for people who haven't been to the orchestra and haven't been to that, like, please go to your local arts, because you're going to see teams that function at a whole nother level of precision and quality and communication that maybe you haven't seen otherwise. And sports are very similar. And so, as we get through this, I love people that have had that experience and all the things they learned from being in those roles and working together, and my role to create this great effort, that we achieve all together, is a really big deal. And they can take that right into their organizations, their accounting firm, their marketing group, their manufacturing, and wherever they're sitting, they can add greater contribution and greater value because of that experience.
And I love how you brought up earlier, you really wrote this book to help leave that lasting impact on others and challenge them to also make that impact, even though it is really hard. And as someone who's written a book myself, I could tell you there's a lot of misconceived perceptions. Like, you're going to write a book, it's going to release, you're going to make all this money, right? It's the books to me that really challenge one's thinking, that really have lasting effect and are timeless, are the books that were written to give you action items to do, while also being written not for the monetary gain, but the long impact that it might have on an individual. So for you, whether it was writing your book or going into an organization and speaking, what are some of the things you try to leave for individuals to challenge the way they're thinking, to kind of leave that lasting impression to really go, I should maybe be implementing this or questioning that?
Yeah. Two things. First, I love that your take on, what books are supposed to do. And I immediately, as you said that, I thought of like Jim Collins. Jim Collins is probably best known for a book called Good to Great. And Good to Great is a really great read. It's entertaining, it's fun. There's a bunch of good data and statistics in there, and love the book. But I will say the best book Jim Collins ever wrote was a book called Built to Last. This is a manual, a step on how he studied the 25 best brands that had literally created value in their industry for over 20, I think it's over 2 or 3 decades, they had to meet this minimum. And they were like Alabama football, right? They're like a dynasty, or like UCLA basketball, like 10 years of just being at the top. And these people were like 2, 3 decades of being industry titans. And then he wrote, hey, this is how they did it. It's called Built to Last. And it's literally showing you exercises you can do. And I mean, what a playbook. Like, the thing is incredible. And yet everyone always talks about Jim Collins, Good to Great. I'm like, oh, if you really want to see the best book he's ever written, you should go get this one. And it was very popular, but not near the popularity of the other one. Because sometimes I think we just want to be entertained. We don't really want to really, do the work. So when I was setting this up, I really wanted to make sure that I'm telling stories that hopefully people will resonate with. I'm an everyday dude, man. I'm a husband. I'm a father of 5 kids. I coach little league. I'm just doing the things that like 90% of America are doing, and I probably have a group of friends that are a little unique. All my friends are probably multimillionaires. They are top earners in their industry, and they're the top 3%. And that's because I'm that guy. My quote, on my podcast, as you know, is winners, when shown data they are losing, find a way to win. And I surround myself with people that get that concept. You are gonna face trial. You are gonna face, battles in it, and you're gonna lose. And you got to figure out, like, wow, we're losing, and it's very clear that we are losing. What are we going to do to win? And the people that I'm around are constantly navigating that solution and facing that challenge and leaning right into it. And the losing behaviors are those that say, hey, I'm going to make some excuses of why we're not winning. You know what? I'm just going to blame Olivia. I don't think her playbook was clear enough. And so it's her fault. So I'm going to blame somebody else why I'm not winning. Or it turns out that this little simple guide that Olivia developed is really hard, and I don't really want to do it anymore. So I quit. The third losing behavior. And then the fourth is I ignore the data. Like, you are losing badly, like, oh no, we're doing just fine. Like, no, 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 no. Like being realistic about where you're at right now is crucial to me. And so having that self-evaluation and being able to be real about that, that's part of that authenticity too, right? And so those four losing behaviors, I Hawkeye in my life with people around me like nobody's business. And by the way, I also give my close friends, Olivia Atkin has permission at any time in my life that if I'm showing losing behaviors, which I have and still do, is like, oh, Trent, are you making an excuse right now of why you're not getting it done? Like, oh, yeah, I actually am making excuses. Holy crap. Like, if I got time to make excuses, I probably got time to fix it. So I love that. That's a quote from one of my clients. He says it all the time. Like, hey, don't apologize. I don't want to hear you're sorry. If you got time to apologize, you got time to fix it. So go out and get it right, and we're gonna all feel a lot better about us.
And I love how you bring that up because it is, I think, so true and important to realize that when you start making excuses, you need that accountability to go, wait a moment. And I think that's one of the great things having good friends do. And what great friends, great relationships, whether it's friends, business partners, people you work with, right? Those
Parents.
parents, right? Exactly. Whatever the relationship might be, I think the best individuals are really the ones that show up and say, are you really doing this the best? Is this really the right decision? I'm seeing you kind of turn your behavior. I'm hearing a little bit of excuses. Not that they might not be valid, but what are you going to do about it? And I think sometimes when we don't get that and we get into this a comfortability of just going, okay, it's on someone else, or I can't control that idea of making victim statements or going, okay, well, I can't do it because Olivia didn't provide me the right information or Trent wasn't there holding me accountable. We lose sight of what we're really trying to do. And those people who are surrounding us, and we both know it as being in professional sports and in different high performing environments, the yes people are not helping, they're hurting the situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right on the head. I mean, imagine Olivia that as a good friend and colleague and coach and peer to you, we're here playing at the top level, and I'm noticing something in your skill that is now not as good as it's been, and you're not focused on it. And I notice it, but like, oh, I don't want to make Olivia feel bad, so I'm not going to alert her of that. And I saw this at the major league level where nobody said anything, and then 30 days later, it's you're being sent to the minors. Like, oh yeah, hey, listen, good luck down there, Olivia. And listen, I've noticed like you're really dropping your elbow on the backside. I've been watching it for like the last 30 days, and you should really work on that down there. And you're like, wait, you've noticed this 30 days, and you didn't say something? Like, what kind of friend are you? Because I don't think you're a friend at all because you're unwilling to have a difficult conversation. And if we have trust in our relationship, right, we're just searching for the best truth. We're just searching for the right solution. And it's not like, oh, I want to pick on you. I want to make you feel bad about not performing over the last 3 games. That's not my intent. My intent is to help you become better and help be the best you can be. And that's all we're looking for. And that's what good relationships actually do for one another. And withholding data and information, which I see all the time in organizations. I mean, it's crazy the level of this that happens. And someone thinks they're doing someone a favor. Like, hey, don't do me any favors. And I talk a lot of this about the sports world is and I call it like, hey, don't do me any favors. And you and I probably saw somewhere in our career that professor or instructor who was like, hey, listen, Olivia, don't worry about the test. Just make sure you score 18 points in the basketball game this Friday. All right, we're buddies. Like, hey, that's don't do me any favors. So you're allowing her not to be accountable to the standards of the rest of the organization and learn the information and data that's going to help her because you believe in this information and data will help her in her life. And you're willing to forego that for what? Buddiness? Like for a random friendship or maybe even acquaintance that you want to be liked? Like, that's crazy. And that's not helping anybody. And so tough love for me is real. And that professor who goes, hey, Olivia, I am in 100% support of your athletics, but this is important right here. And if you need to come in every day after class from Tuesday to Thursday for me to help you get this test right on Friday, this is 40% of your grade. And it's not this is something that could take down your eligibility here in the organization and being able to play. I don't want to see that. You don't want to see that. How do I come alongside and help you? Because I love you as a person. I care for you. I want what's best for you because all that accountability and coming alongside, you don't have to say that out loud. It is love and it's hard. And it's hard. That's why it's called tough love. Like, it's best for you, it's best for me, it's best for all parties involved, and we got to do hard things.
For you, as you work with companies and individuals, and you have to give tough love sometime and really
Yeah.
question, how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I like first of all, the it's it can't be done without establishing a relationship, right? If someone randomly comes off the street to you who may be the best podcaster in the world and says, Olivia, I think your podcast is crap. You need to be doing blah 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 blah, and you're like, dang, like we don't really have a relationship. Like, are you gonna listen? I mean, maybe they're the best podcaster, but you coming in and telling me all the things I'm doing wrong don't really inspire me to change. I don't know if I should because we really don't have that trust factor, right? So being that trusted advisor is really important to providing tough love. And I mean, that's why our parents are so valuable because they've cared for us, right? They've done all these things. Even your mom and dad never say, "Oh, I love you so much," every day of your life. The sacrifices you've watched them make just as part of you growing up and being a part of life is kind of establishing that trust boundary that they want what's best for you. And they may not know how to give you that. They may not know. And I think there's got to be some grace for that. But ultimately, advices come from our parents because it's straight out of love. And it may not be the best advice. I wasn't getting great advice from my mom. And by the way, I don't go ask my mom now, who's never run a company, "Hey, what do you think I should do in my business?" Like, she loves me and I know that, but like I'm not asking her for that information. I'm going to other people for those things. So it's got to be specific to someone who is a trusted advisor, who's experienced, who can know that. So for me, I have to establish that first, that I am a trusted advisor. And then two, I think tough love's always a lot easier when there's data, right? I love the t-shirt that says trust God, all else bring data, right? Because I am a little bit of that guy. I want people to do well, but you know, talking sports is a lot, as you know. Everyone kind of runs their mouth about, "Oh, I was all state in high school." No, 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 like, I don't care. Like, you know what? Show me and make me a believer. Because you won't have to talk and tell me how good you are when you show me how hard you're willing to work, how quickly you can adapt, how great you are at learning, how great you are at taking this feedback, how humble you are as a leader for the other organization, all those things that I want to see. Like, hey, don't sing it, bring it. Like, that's what I want to see. And so I think that you got to kind of walk the walk and talk the talk to have that ability. And that's really coming back to that authenticity, right? I have that. I established that with clients. And now I'm going to bring the data. Just like your instructor would bring your data and say, "Hey, listen, this is a big part of your grade. These 4 quizzes leading up to this test, Olivia, are like at 50%. You're not garnering the knowledge. We've got to do some cramming to get you right so that you can be successful and really get this information." And so the data is like, "Oh, you're right." If they just said like, "Oh, I think you could be doing better." Well, what's that look like? I'm at 87%. It could be 95. Yeah, you're right. But uh, like the data of like, "Hey, what you can be, show me the data and how that can serve." And I think that's part of that tough love too, is being able to show that of what it is you want them to understand, what's currently happening, because we're constantly navigating um, the current reality to the future reality. And all of us in coaching, all of us who are development, are seeing someone in their future reality like, "Oh my gosh, Olivia, I know you can be there." And it's just like 10 steps. And when I can help you make these 10 steps, but I also have to bring it like, "Hey, this is the current reality. This is what the future reality looks like. And here's the gap." Like the current reality says you're getting X amount of this, and then the future reality, you're doing Y amount of this. And so how do we navigate that gap and secure that variance? And so the data is probably pretty important on tough love and being able to show someone and also create that vision for that future reality. And most people have that for themselves if they dig deep on it. But some people are unwilling to do that work because that is hard work.
And I think that's a great thing and process that you go through is you have to show up and you have to build that relationship. It's even if you have all the knowledge and all the data in the world, it's if the person doesn't feel they could connect, right? Or they can communicate in a way where you're going to hear them, they're going to hear you, then it doesn't matter how much data you bring to the table. It's not going to be implemented. It's not going to be heard. It's not, there's all these things that can misalign just because you don't have that relationship. So I definitely agree with you that that is an amazing place you start with your clients and where you work forward, because it is all about, to some extent, the relationship you have, because that really shows value in your voice in addition to all the data, because we can all have data, right? So I love that you're doing that. Trent, how can people get in touch with you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, they can go to LinkedIn on Trent M. Clark for sure. Trent at leadershipity.com. New website coming out, trentmclark.com. And leadershipity.com obviously is our main business site. So any of those always serve. I'm on all these socials at either Leadershipity or Trent Clark. So you can find me about everywhere. So it's pretty easy to get in touch with me.
And definitely go out and get his book. This Thank you, Trent, for all of your insight today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Please, yeah, you can buy the book right now on pre-sale on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. It's there, Leading Winning Teams, and super excited about that release in August. It's going to be awesome.
And definitely get your book ahead of time, so then you already have it locked in the cart, and when August comes it can come out and you'll have a kickstart into your fall goals and really getting those tasks and challenges down to really push you forward. And a few of our key takeaways from today's conversation, there were so many, so I tried writing down some of my favorites, but I have quite a few, so bear with me. It's probably more than I've had for any of my other guests because there were a lot to cover here and a lot to dive in. So hold on to those seats while I dive into this. But the first meet is opportunity meets preparation. An opportunity comes and you're prepared for it. So grind every day, get that preparation in, like Trent has talked about through today's whole conversations. Really prepare so when the opportunity presents itself, you are ready to take that challenge and excel in it as well. As well as it is earned, not given. Earn that spot. Know that, again, back to the last point, is like when that opportunity comes up, you know in your heart that you've earned it and you are prepared. As well as obstacles are things you see when you take your eyes and off your goal and lose focus. I think it is so true that when you're focused in on what you have to get done, everything else becomes white noise, right? Whether that's a task like cleaning the house, mowing the lawn, right? Or working professionally, when you have certain tasks you have to get done in the day, certain goals to meet, and you're hyper focused on that, the noise leaves you, right? You could just focus on it. When you start seeing all these obstacles on why you can't do something, it's because you're taking your eye off that goal. As well as choose the pain of discipline instead of the pain of regret. I think that was such an important fact that Trent brought up, is never look back 10, 5, 10, 20 years from now and go, I should have done that. Right? We all have the analogy too of like when you're on your deathbed. Do you want to look back and go, I should have done this, I should have done that differently, I wish I had gone down this path? Take the time to put that pain, put that discipline in today, so that when you do look back, it's, I can't believe I learned that from this experience. I can't believe I got to do this. It worked out in such a way I didn't expect. I grew like that because you took the time to put that discipline in now. As well as winners, when shown data that they are losing, find a way to win. And this is off Trent's podcast theme, and really what he shares every day is like winners do find a way, right? Just like his podcast. So go and look for it, but find a way to win, whether it's that small task, that big task, that goal. If an obstacle gets in your way and you're being shown data that it's not working, how can you pivot and find your footing to win? As well as if you have time to make excuses, you have time to fix it. I think that is such an important fact that Trent brought up, is the fact that while we're spending time making these excuses, that time could have been used to try to fix the problem or come up with possible solutions. As well as don't say it, bring it, or don't sing it, bring it. And I love that. And to me, it hits so home because we can all say how great we are or how great this thing is, but show it, just do it. This was a great episode with our top-notch guest, Trent Clark. Thank you for listening and have a successful day.